Come to New York. Are you kidding me? This is the best time to come. Cheaper rents, better interaction with teachers. If you're thinking New York, Austin, yeah, Austin, liberal, friendly, good music. Fuck that. New York City, man, this is the time. Come. And you better be good. Add something to my city.
What's going on, everyone? My name's Xavier Diaz, and I want to welcome you to my new show, New York is Dead. Ever since COVID-19 ravaged through New York City, turning it into the epicenter of the global pandemic, there's been a lot of headlines in the news claiming that the city was dead forever. It was never coming back. A wasteland, total war zone.
New York City is dead forever.
Homelessness, drug use spiraling out of control.
Hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers have fled.
That city is a rotting cesspool.
In NYC alone, murders up 34%, shootings 87%.
Unprecedented numbers of New Yorkers are unemployed, facing homelessness.
America's most recognizable city, beloved by people all over the world. A beacon of freedom, a symbol of diversity, opportunity, and the only, I mean literally only place to get decent pizza. Now don't get me wrong, New York City has definitely seen better days, and the city doesn't feel as alive as it once did, but the whole world has been hit hard, and I refuse to believe that this great city will never come back. But still, I needed to hear the truth from actual New Yorkers.
This is the very first episode of New York is Dead, and we wanted to hit the streets of New York to see what real New Yorkers thought about indoor dining returning, to see what they thought about the concept of New York being dead, and to ask how people felt about the start of the year of the ox on the Chinese lunar calendar. There's a lot of things going on this weekend, and we got to talk to a lot of people, so let's go see what everybody thinks. Over the summer, there was a lot of news pundits talking about how New York City was dead, how the city was going to be dead forever, it wasn't going to return. What are your thoughts on that?
I would say they're completely wrong. The city won't ever die.
Why do you think so?
Drop a bomb on it, it won't die.
Well, why do you think so? Why do you have so much confidence?
Well, look around. Even now, with it's freezing cold, people are still coming out. You know, even in the subways, there's something about this city, because all the other places I've been to, this one in particular, people hold on. Even when they left, people still stayed. I had friends who kept coming to the park just because they loved this park. No other reason. People who just go to Coney Island because they love Coney Island. You know, and when the protests happen, the same thing. You see the unity of people coming out together. I think that's what this city's all about.
I think New York City is going to start thriving again. I mean, we saw over the summer how happy the city was, especially when Joe Biden was elected. I was in this park right now. Hundreds of people were celebrating, hundreds of people were dancing. It was really the New York that I've known and come to love. I'm from Sydney, Australia originally, and I moved here when I was about 8-7. Mm-hmm. And I've really just come to love this city, and seeing the city united and happy was really great.
New York City's not dead. We're just paying attention to what was important right now, getting people healthy, prioritizing things, but the city's starting to come back as people are feeling a little bit safer with the vaccine availability. Some of the arts have returned. Restaurants have started being able to serve on a limited basis indoors again. And people really want to keep our city great. Communities are trying to support local businesses. We're not dead, and we're going to be ready with welcome arms when the rest of the world's ready to come back visiting.
I live near Times Square, and I walked down there in April, and I sat in the middle of Times Square, and there were 25 people there instead of 25,000. Now it's getting a little bit more towards what it used to be, but it's nowhere near where it was.
I think the idea that New York's dead needs to be a little bit more specific, and this observation that many jobs have gone remote applies to a certain set of mostly privileged upper middle class New Yorkers. So I think there's a massive population of New York that has been here.
I feel like slowly New York City is coming back because since the pandemic, everything was closing down and there wasn't as much activities going on. So I feel like it's like some sort of revival. And I feel like more people are coming back, more people are coming to the city. So I feel like I don't think New York is dead just yet. Maybe in like a few years, but not just yet. I feel like it's still live, you know?
What are your thoughts on that? What do you say to people who say that?
That's bullshit. The city is very much alive and well. I mean, I don't think that's true at all. I mean, people are still here, you know? I mean, sure, there are some people who left, but there are also a lot of people who came as well because of, you know, rental markets and all that good stuff. But no, it's definitely not dead.
I think it's definitely deader than it was a year or two ago. But like some people left and then some other people came in. You know, I talked to a lot of people who came after the pandemic. And I think, you know, the fact that things are cheaper now, you know, the rent especially, I think you're still going to have people coming in from, you know, out of town.
I got back here on like August when it was talking about that, and it was fine. Like COVID was like point something %, and it was like not everything was back to normal, and it was still restrictions, but there was people outside and stuff like that. And even though some things are closed, I think it's not a dead city at all. Like I see people walk around masked, like social distance. Everyone's made arrangements so they can go outside.
Would you recommend for a millennial starting out in their career to move to New York City? In the past, it would be that this was the place you would come to after you graduated to be able to network, to really start your career. Would you still recommend millennials move here?
If you're coming now, I think you're actually going to find a cheaper apartment to rent, but there's less of an available job market at the immediate moment. So it all depends on your attitude. If you're willing to do something more basic in the beginning while you're looking for work, like waitress or work in a store, some of that is opening back up. So then by all means, get in now when you can get the cheaper rent. If you are the kind of person that really needs to feel assured when you go to a place, you might want to wait a little bit just till there's a little bit of a higher level of recovery.
Would you still recommend younger people move here?
Not yet. I'm sure they need to wait 6-9 months or a year because I don't think that it's ready yet for them to do that because of the pandemic.
I think it really depends on what your sector and what your industry is.
Honestly, if somebody young wants to start a career here, I don't think it's a very good idea because the living accommodations, like the rent is very high for one studio apartment. It's not very good. And I know like that's the whole big dream, like to be in New York City, the Big Apple. So I just don't think it's very practical. I feel like you could go somewhere else and have a successful life and then come here because of the rent and stuff, but other than that, it is a good place to start, I guess.
And I definitely recommend it. I mean, like I'm someone who really values like public transportation, diversity, like I love food, and I grew up in Singapore, so like for me, like New York is very similar in terms of like the density. If you live in a city or you enjoy like nice social services like public transportation, New York's definitely a place to check out.
It depends why they're coming, but I think I heard a lot of people are going to Texas. And that's Austin. Like, yeah, that's where it's at for the tech industry and probably some other industries too. I mean, I've heard people talk about North Dakota as well, but it definitely depends on the industry. But I think there's still you know, pockets that need to be filled in New York as well.
There was another article recently that was titled, "If You're Young and Ambitious, Move to New York City, Not Austin," as some people may say. Would you recommend someone living in another part of the country to move to New York City, like a millennial who just got out of college?
I would say definitely. I mean, this city has always been a home for artists, painters, musicians, filmmakers. I think the city can inspire you so many ways. No city captures the feeling of fulfillment and loneliness like New York. And I think the city can really bring about inspiration and create a community. I mean, my buddy Tucker right there, I've known him for 2 years, and we just met randomly and we started filmmaking together. Me and my buddy Sean, who I co-host the show with, we met at a bar basically. And we just fell in love with this idea for the show, and now we're out here in Washington Square Park doing it. New York's a city where the hustle and the community is so inspiring, and it can inspire you to do a million things.
It depends what you want to do, what your aim is, what you want to achieve. Where, you know, somewhere like Austin or somewhere like LA or somewhere, I don't know, anywhere else, where there's more culture here, I find. You know, and there's more diversity, and you can be more of who you want to be, without being restricted or without being, even in the lockdown, people still weren't restricted. You know, you still had a certain amount of freedom, even though, and from where I'm from, Western Australia, they went into rural lockdown, and it was totally different than what it is here. And people complained about their rights and their freedoms taken away, and I look around going, no, it really isn't. This is a beautiful place.
I mean, you see there's problems around the country. It's not like New York is doing better or worse. They're trying, and I feel okay. Yeah, I think New York's doing a good job.
If you have like a secure, like, not backup plan, but if you have like, if you're secure financially, then yeah, I feel like that. And so my security is like my school, NYU. If you're just gonna be here, like, it's a little bit risky to take a risk. There's always risks to take, but especially here, it's really expensive. So if you're able to secure yourself financially for like a year or so to take those risks, then yes, I would, yeah, for sure.
What do you love most about the city? What keeps you here in New York City?
The energy. I love the energy of New York, the people, the different cultures, the colors, the sounds, the art, just how alive New York is no matter what, and how people, no matter how big we are really all one.
Well, I moved here from Boston 25 years ago because everything in New York was 50 times more of what they had in Boston. Everything. And now, because of the pandemic, there's nothing anywhere. But I certainly hope it, and the shows and Broadway, I certainly hope it gets back to where it was.
Definitely the social aspect. There's like a lot of people, a lot of different people. It's very diverse. It's not like, it's very non-judgmental, you know? It's very open-minded.
Like, I'm someone who really values like public transportation, diversity. Like, I love food. And I grew up in Singapore, so like for me, like New York is very similar in terms of like the density. I would say, you know, if you live in a city or you enjoy like nice social services like public transportation, New York's definitely a place to check out.
If you had the opportunity, would you up and move, or what keeps you here?
What keeps me here is the availability of goods and services within a small perimeter, so you don't have to travel very far. Like if I move to North Dakota or Texas or somewhere, things are going to be a lot more spread out. I mean, you might not be able to find like as much of a certain service, a specific service. And as far as moving, I think I might move.
And what do you hate most about the city? What are things that you don't like about the city?
I don't like, not being able to drive or park anywhere. Especially now, with the restaurants and stuff. I've heard a lot of people complaining about that as well, because, they block off what used to be parking spaces. And definitely the snow, right? You see all the snow around you. It's easy to, slip and fall, or just to get your feet all wet, you got to wear boots and stuff. I think that's one major reason why a lot of people leave New York. A lot of them go to warmer states, if you notice the patterns.
And I never wanted to come to New York. I had a friend who lived here for 10 years, and he was always, and I was like, I don't want to go to that city. What for? It's just a big city. And I got here, and it's the only place that feels like home. That's it. It's the only place in the world that I've ever been where I felt like I belong.
What will get you to move out? What do you think will get you to leave here?
I have no idea. It'd have to be something pretty drastic.
It'd have to be something drastic.
Yeah. I mean, I could go places and just hang out for a little while, but even when I've been other places, I just miss being here.
I'm an artist, and I think artists have been predominantly ignored. I think there are certain robustly funded arts institutions that have been able to survive, but independent freelance artists on the whole have been ignored. And now with the new one-step events permit program, that will help things come back. New Yorkers want the arts to happen, but there's not as much talk about New Yorkers are artists, and they've been unemployed for a year in certain sectors. So that's, I think, one area where I've been a little bit frustrated.
Valentine's Day weekend in New York City was a little extra special this year due to indoor dining returning to the city for the first time since mid-December. 2021 has already brought a ton of snow to the city, making outdoor dining extremely difficult. Restaurants were allowed to reopen their doors at 25% capacity. But none of this matters if New Yorkers don't actually feel comfortable returning yet. So we asked people how they felt about indoor dining returning.
Do you feel comfortable indoor dining?
I do feel comfortable indoor dining, and we went out and ate indoors yesterday.
Some restaurant owners are saying 25% isn't enough for them. They still have their bills to pay. What do you say about that?
I do understand where they're coming from because they want to do right by their staff. They can't get enough people to make a profit, so they're probably just covering maybe their salaries and their food, and that is not enough for a business. A business has to have at least break open, but really pull ahead to support the people that are running it. So I hope we can keep increasing this, keep people healthy, and get those restaurants back where they belong, because that's one of the draws of the city.
I think those outdoor porches that should remain permanent that are going to make everything better than it was when everything gets better, because those outdoor porches are wonderful. There's millions of seats that they created, and it's just that is the best part. If there's anything that came out of this or will come out of this, are those outdoor porches.
Are you comfortable with indoor dining?
No, sir.
So you will not be doing any indoor dining this weekend?
I will not.
No. And what would a restaurant or the city have to do to get you to be comfortable again to go out to do indoor dining?
That's a good question. I'm not a big going out to eat restaurant person, so it's not a huge priority for me. I think maybe really demonstrating even lower capacity and better HVAC systems on the whole. I think there's a lot of safety theater that needs to be stopped because it's not helping anyone. And it's a performative sanitizing of surfaces, which isn't actually promoting public health. And better ventilation and social distancing is actually, the most effective thing and probably the thing that would give me the most confidence to re-enter the indoor dining arena.
I guess I'm not comfortable with indoor dining yet. Well, I'm really more like an introvert, so I don't go anywhere anyway. But, that's kind of, I'm outside right now. But not just yet. I don't think so. I'm kind of scared of crowded places.
This weekend I'm not. I'm actually doing outdoor dining tonight and tomorrow. I'd love to support our small businesses, but I don't think I'm fully comfortable yet. Once I get vaccinated, I might do it.
I think if the restaurants are implementing safety protocols, then yeah, I would be. I mean, it's really important to support local businesses, especially during this year, which has been so hard. Local businesses are what make New York, New York, and that's always been true. So if they're implementing safety protocols, then I would like to encourage my fellow New Yorkers to go support local businesses however they can. But please be safe, please be responsible, so that way New York can keep being New York.
No, not this weekend, but yeah, I am. Yeah.
You comfortable with it?
Yeah. I have I think there's certain aspects about the indoor dining versus the outdoor dining when people are still congregated together anyway. Mm-hmm. It seemed a little bit not exactly accurate.
Well thought out?
Yeah, well, I can walk past somewhere and there's lines of people and everyone's still crowded in and but it's outdoors. It's like,
still inside.
You're still, it's not that much different, really. Mm-hmm. I don't see it as that would be the root cause of the virus spreading.
And are you okay with it being at 25%? Because I know a lot of restaurant owners were complaining that, their bills are still 100%. So 25% doesn't get them there in terms of their staff, in terms of paying for the rent. Do you think 25% was a good call, or would you have been more comfortable with something like, I don't know, even 35% is right now in New Jersey?
I'd say 50%.
You'd be comfortable with 50%?
Yeah, just personally. I mean, everyone has their own perceptions, but again, don't go to a restaurant. Mm-hmm. That will give you the if you're uncomfortable being in somewhere, then the subways aren't that loaded up. Mm-hmm. I won't ride on a bus because I'd prefer the subway. The buses, there's too many people in a bus. Even when the pandemic was really going, get in a bus and it's crowded. But the restaurants aren't allowed to open, so it just. I feel for restaurant owners and people who work in the restaurants, because if it's 25%, that means the amount of people who are working for them will be cut back. Yeah. So people are still unemployed, people still don't have the work, people still don't have funding. I'd say just let's start picking it back up.
I'm comfortable for other people to do it. But at 56 with a little bit of asthma and loving my marijuana, I'm just a little bit extra cautious. 10%, I'm in. 25, nah!
So there are restaurant owners who are actually complaining that 25 is not enough because their bills are still 100%. So they want it higher. What do you think the city can do to kind of help restaurants right now?
If you're smart and you're funny and you're a restaurant owner, you should get 80%. Otherwise, start with 25. Let's do the stats. See how it's going and move up. Maybe it'll be 50 before you know it. I think 25 is a good number.
Probably not. I feel for indoor, I'd rather go outdoor dining, honestly. But if that's the only option, then yeah, I'll go once in a while. But I always prefer outdoor dining, especially now.
You'd rather it even with this cold? You'd rather be?
Yeah, I've done it before, and it's like with outdoor dining they have little huts and stuff. So when the wind comes, it usually blocks it off. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'd rather suffer with the cold for like 30 minutes or to an hour than go inside and just risk it a little bit more.
New York City is nothing without the diversity of people and cultures and traditions that make the city so vibrant. And I think we can all agree that we all need a hard reset from everything that happened last year, which is why so many people were so excited to come together to celebrate the Chinese Lunar New Year, to bid farewell to the Year of the Rat, and to welcome the Year of the Metal Ox. The ox represents hard work and stability, something I think we all need right now. So we asked people what their hopes were for 2021 as we move into a new chapter.
Well, I'm hoping that we can keep pulling together and getting things open for everybody. I work in entertainment, so we are all hoping if we pull together good, safe precautions, we're all back at work too. So that's what I want. Everybody healthy and able to go back to work.
Well, I hope that we can see everything, as I said, come back the way it was. I don't think it's going to be this year.
I'm hopeful that I can continue hard work towards some of the social justice causes that really rose to the forefront in the past year. I've seen a ton of really inspirational mutual aid groups pop up and really aspirational mutual aid groups, and I think especially as the winter really bears down upon us, we're going to have to dig in our heels to the principles that we've committed ourselves to and continue to help each other through it.
Get that bread to get money, you know?
Get that bread. That's a good one. That's a good one for every year.
Year of the ox. Well, in Chinese culture, the ox is usually stubborn and persistent. So let's hope that we can all be persistent and good about wearing masks and being socially distanced and getting our vaccine, because we can combat this disease.
Well, actually, the one major thing I'll tell you that I'm hoping for the most is political stability. Just yesterday, I think there was some news about Trump trying to make a comeback, and he said that this is the beginning of MAGA. I don't know if you paid attention to it, but he said that this was the beginning of the MAGA, and that kind of worries me, I'm just hoping for stability. I'm not even hoping for anything great, like riches and good economy or anything like that. Just have everything be safe, have everything be stable, no riots. I'm happy,
I'm an amateur filmmaker, so I'd like to produce more short films and hopefully my first feature film over the summer. We just launched our first political show, Civilizing with Civilians, and we've been at hard work working on that. Also, I want to see New York be driven, and I want to see New York be focused. And I think that focus is infectious, and it inspires all of us.
Not just for myself, but as a group of humans, that we can just be a little bit more unified, and also be more of what we were during protests. Let's not forget why people were protesting, why we were out there, why we were coming together, whether we were black, whether we were white, whether we were Chinese, Asians, because a lot of racism against Asians now as well. A lot of my friends are Asians, and they're feeling the brunt of that. And that isn't even spoken about. So and considering it's the Year of the Ox, let's work together like oxes. I don't know if they work together. They're good farm animals, apparently.
Yeah,
I don't
agriculture.
know. Yeah, there we go.
I hope that I'm safe when I climb the Grand Canyon in July with my family. I hope work comes back. I hope my TV show leads to bigger and better things. I hope I find romance with a young foreign woman that I've been looking for so long. And I hope New Yorkers are happier and begin to smile again, just like me.
I feel like people can be a little bit smarter. Whether that be with politics, with just decision making and stuff like that, and just be safer, so we can actually go back to a normal city and stuff like that. So just go back to normal. That's kind of what I wish.
Thank you so much for watching the first episode of New York is Dead. If you enjoy, make sure to subscribe and to hit the notification bell. Send this to someone who moved out of the city. Send this to someone thinking about moving into the city. Let's just get the word out on what New York is actually like from people actually living here. Again, thank you for watching. My name's Xavier Diaz. Peace.